Well, yesterday on the show, we did a crossover with some other Locked On hosts, and I gave my prediction. I gave it a little bit more in the Florida preview in segment one of this show. But I mean, let's jump right to it, man. I'm picking Tennessee to win. I understand it was very uninspiring football offensively against Austin Peay, and we'll get into more of that as you and I talk over the next 20 minutes or so. But I've had Tennessee all offseason. I'm not changing my pick. I like Tennessee. Now, there are going to be some things Tennessee's got to do and got to take Florida out of their game plan, got to take the crowd out of it. I get all that. I'm taking Tennessee. I think it's a better roster right now. I think you got better athletes. I think you got much better playmakers. There's just too much that I like about Tennessee when in comparing to Florida, even knowing the history, knowing you haven't won there in 20 years. I get all that. I'm picking Tennessee. I think it's going to be close because it always is. Even last year when Tennessee was beating the brakes off of them, it was still close in the end. 35, 28-ish, somewhere around there. Where are you? What's your prediction? I would assume you have Tennessee as well.
Yeah, the more the week is played out, the more it kind of, look, we get emotional. I said this early in the week. We get emotional coming off of a game like Austin Peay. The sky is falling. Joe Milton's horrible. We got to put Nico in. We got to figure something out. Vegas doesn't get emotional, right? And they never changed. They stayed true to what they believed. They had Tennessee at I think it was a touchdown favorite. Now it's down to like 6.5. They still like Tennessee to go on the road to the Swamp, hostile environment, night game, and they still like Tennessee as a touchdown favorite. That tells me all I need to know. Tennessee's got better players. I think Tennessee has better coaching. You brought up a good point, though. It is on the road. It is 7 p.m. Look, Florida has lost, four of their last five? Ended the season last year with 3 losses to Vanderbilt. We're talking about you're losing to Vanderbilt, Florida State, Oregon State, and then they open up with the 24-11 loss against Utah. They bounce back against McNeese State, and that's something that kind of makes this tough for me to look at. It's Jekyll and Hyde here, right, with Florida. It's they played a good Utah team and were terrible at times, and then they played a horrible McNeese State and did what they were supposed to do. But I like Tennessee to go in, quiet down this crowd. I hope that the coaching staff comes out and gets Joe Milton comfortable earlier. Let's see the opposite of last week. Let's not try to throw it down the field early. Let's hit some of those quick throws to the outside. Let's get Jalen Wright going. Let's make Joe Milton comfortable. Let's help Joe Milton along. We talked about whether he was inaccurate or did wide receivers drop balls. You guys got to help out Joe Milton. If he's struggling, you got to help him out. Go make football plays. I like what AP said in the VolQuest podcast earlier this week. The Gator fans are looking for a reason to pack up and leave that stadium early. Let's give them one. I like Tennessee in this game, but I think, like you said, it's going to be close. We're going to be nervous on Saturday night.
And to be perfectly clear, again, this is a Friday show, and we've not mentioned it's about 20 times already this week. It was both. Joe Milton was inaccurate. Right. Joe Milton did not throw good footballs, but also receivers are not helping out your quarterback. And even when he did throw good footballs, your receivers just dropped. I mean, it wasn't all Joe. I think it was more receivers. I really do. But altogether, passing game, all in one, just got to get better. That's been the biggest disappointment so far through 2 games that I didn't see coming. Dante Thornton playing 8 snaps or 10, whatever it was. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I would have never guessed that in my life. But you're going to need Dante Thornton. You're going to need the Tennessee passing attack to win down in Florida. And so I agree with you. Make it easy on Joe. Build some confidence. Run the football, that type of stuff. At some point, the time of this recording, I haven't done it yet. I hope to do kind of a behind-enemy line situation with Gators Online, the On3 site down there with Nick Delatorre. I want to know who Graham Mertz is. And for Florida, you've seen 2 games of him, so really you don't have a good idea of who he is. But, Graham Mertz, Big Ten football, Wisconsin, against Power 5 opponents, just not good. Game against McNeese State doesn't count, but even against Utah, they were coming back, throwing the ball through the air and everything. He's completing 73% of his passes so far this year. Doesn't look like he's been awful bad, but, I want to know who Graham Mertz is. Can Tennessee make him uncomfortable? Can Tennessee force him into bad decisions? I'm ready to see this defense get after it.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. And it's the old saying. It reminds me of the Fulmer and Spurrier years. Whoever runs for the most yards is going to win the game. But that kind of feels how this is, because I think both teams probably going to have the same game plan. Like I just said, make Joe Milton comfortable. I think Florida wants to make Graham Mertz comfortable. Don't rely on him. On the flip side of that, Tennessee needs to stop the run and then pin their ears back and get after Graham Mertz. They're leading the country in sacks. They're leading the country in tackles for loss. If one thing has been true since Rodney Garner came back to Tennessee, it's thinks that this defense is going to stop the run. So can you force Graham Mertz to try to beat you with his arm? And if so, pin your ears back, get after him. Florida gave up 5 sacks to Utah, right? Coming out of that game, I'm licking my chops saying, oh, my goodness, Rodney Garner is going to have a field day. We've seen Tyler Barron coming on. We've seen this defensive line getting after the quarterback. We said all offseason, can they do it with 4? They can do it with 4. But there's always that little thing looming. Well, it was Virginia, Boogie. It was Austin P, Boogie. We don't know what we're getting. We're going into week 3. We still don't really know what we are getting. But you talk about Graham Mertz. We don't know who he is with Florida, but we know what he was before. Turned the football over 10 times in 2022, 11 times in 2021. So I think if Tennessee, even if they don't get home, if they force Graham Mertz to have to go back there and beat you with his arm, I like the way that sets up for Tennessee.
Look at Tennessee. Pick to click, not named Joe Milton. Who has to have a good game? Who has to be on it? Not named Joe Milton for Tennessee to feel good about their chances Saturday night.
I'm going to say the first name that comes to mind is Kamal Hadden, but I'm going to say the secondary as a whole, because something that I kind of it's battered Vols syndrome, flashbacks to the Austin P game. You know, Austin P threw for what, 260, I think? I think they threw for around 260 yards, and a big chunk of that came when Slaughter fell down. I understand that, but when I look back at the game and what triggers me and what I think of other than Joe Milton and the wide receivers is it seemed like they were running that quick stuff to the outside, a lot of bubble screens, and Tennessee's secondary, it looked like backyard football. It looked like they were just running circles and couldn't get guys to the ground. So I'm going to say this Tennessee secondary, because if we're talking about it and we stop the run and then you get after Graham Mertz and he's going to go back there and throw the football, you better be able to cover and you better be looking back for the football, because I know everybody in the media, people like me, we all say the same thing. Turn your head around. Look what happens when you do. You intercept the football. Kamal Hadden better be looking for the football on Saturday night in the swamp. And I'm going to say this Tennessee secondary as a whole better be clicking, because I think the front seven's going to be just fine.
I went in on this on Wednesday's Locked On Vols. Crap, I'm pulling up Pro Football Focus, and that's 2022 Tennessee. That was a good year. But I went in on this when I did the Pro Football Focus segments on Wednesday's show. It's still pulling up 2022. I don't know why it's doing that. But Kamal Hadden, yes, horrible penalties, DPIs. Like, you can't do that, can't do that, can't do that. But God, if you can just separate the two, he played good. Like,
he's talented. People get mad when I say he's a good corner. He's a good corner. Just clean up some little stuff. I think he can be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as well. He had a good Pro Football Focus grade, which, again, take it for what it is. But, you know, targeted, I think, I'm going to pull it up right now because I've got it. I finally got it. He was targeted. Let's see here. Kamal Hadden. Here we go. He was targeted so far on the season. So this is on the season. He's been targeted 16 times, given up 5 receptions for 16 yards. I mean, that's not bad. Like, they're obviously making a point to go to him.
It's the penalties that stick out, right? And
yeah.
Two big ones that stick out right off the top.
Yeah, and so it just kind of is what it is. So I'm with you. Secondary's got to improve. Secondary's got to play well. Tennessee's got to play well in a number of areas, and we'll see if it can do just that. Hey, we'll come back. We'll preview more of this Tennessee-Florida game. We will look at Tennessee and Florida from a statistical perspective, all that and more. That's coming up next right here on Locked On Vols. But quickly, I want to tell you guys about our friends, our proud sponsors, and that is FanDuel Sportsbook. It is America's #1 sportsbook. You get ready for the NFL season. It's already started, but there's an incredible offer over at FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. That's guaranteed. Again, $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Guarantee. Plus, all customers that bet $5 at FanDuel Sportsbook will get $100 off NFL Sunday tickets from YouTube and YouTube TV. That's not a bad deal whatsoever. And if you have that NFL Sunday ticket, man, that makes that Sunday a breeze when you're perusing those NFL slates. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props to more. Put some coin in your pocket. Have some fun doing it. If you are new to the sports gambling game, I encourage you, do the props. Props are fun. You can get in there, win a couple, feel good about yourself, and then look at those totals and, of course, look at the spreads. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season with an offer that you don't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. It is Tennessee. It is Florida. It's in the swamp, a place where Tennessee hadn't won in 20 years. Have we mentioned that this week? Looking for back-to-back wins since 03-04. Looking to just continue. It felt good last year being back in Neyland Stadium, beating your rival. Can you do it again on the road? And can you really just shut up an opposing crowd and a rival crowd that Tennessee talks a lot of smack on social media. So does Florida. It's the pageantry of college football. All that, it starts this week. I'm so excited. Boogie Bentley, Talkin Vols, man, Florida's going to try to run the football. You got two pretty good backs, but if you look at that Utah game, they were playing from behind. I get it. 13 yards rushing. I don't take anything they did against McNeese State to heart because it's McNeese State. But Florida's going to want to run the football, and they've got two talented backs. What a challenge for Tennessee's defense.
I mean, you look at the numbers and you think, man, Florida, 170 yards per game on the ground, but you look what they did against Utah. It goes back to what I said in the first segment. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Like, what is the real story here? Do you look at the Utah game? Do you look at the McNeese State game? But they do have a couple of good backs. What are they averaging per game? Let me. I had it pulled up here just a second ago. Let's see. Etienne averaging 6.1 yards per carry. Johnson averaging 6.9 yards per carry. And yeah, Jalen Wright's having a really good time running the football too. But again, what are we basing this on, Cain? Are we basing it on Virginia and Austin Peay? Is this what this football team's truly going to be? That's why when you go back to the offseason, all the conversations we had, I said the season started third week against Florida in the Swamp. We're going to find out what this football team's made of. And, you talk about the streak, right? And we as fans, we know, man, it's been a long time. Casey Clausen, like, do people listening to this show right now, do you guys even remember Casey Clausen? Some of these people, I talk about the history of Tennessee football and their favorite players, and they rattle off Butch Jones guys. And I'm like, have you ever heard of Al Wilson? And they just look at me like a deer in headlights. Like, it's been a long time since we won in the Swamp. But I love Jacob Warren this week. He's like, we don't really think about that. They don't really care about that. All they're focused on is the task at hand. We can talk about the players-only meeting. We kind of joked about it off air. That's something that we talk about, the media talks about, the fans talk about. The players, it's just another day in the life of a college football player. Hey, let's get our head on straight. Let's go down to the Swamp. Let's kick somebody's ass. That's what we're playing to do. What I like about that, though, is Joe Milton taking that ownership, taking that leadership. Because we, again, like we said in the first segment, we can blame Joe. We can blame Ramel Keaton. We can blame Brew McCoy. We can blame everybody. Joe said, hey, I'll take it. Put it on me. I'm the leader of this football team. I have to be better. Let's go beat Florida in the Swamp. So I like the mindset of this team, but we're going to find out what they are made of at 7 o'clock on Saturday night.
It's funny you were talking about, and Jacob Warren even mentioned as well, like maybe some of the younger guys don't even know about the history of this. And sure, you want to be educated on the history because it's important and everything, but like, these players on this team are like, they don't give a crap because it doesn't matter, and it truly doesn't. I was making the joke on Trail Tidbits with Matt Ray earlier this week. It's like the same thing with Prime right now, Dion. It's like these kids who are being recruited right now, I'm telling you, they don't know who he is. Now they YouTube and they've heard the name, they YouTube him, NFL Hall of Famer. Oh man, this guy's for real, story, all this, and then they buy into it and he's the flavor of the month. But like, these kids don't know who he is either because he played so long ago. But just meaning, really from one year to the next, it doesn't matter. It's all about who's in that locker room and what your game plan is. And that's kind of the way Tennessee should approach this week. And that's the way Tennessee is approaching this week.
That's why when we talk about recruiting, right? We talk about recruiting. It's important that Josh Heupel, his guys go and have success. Guys like Hendon Hooker, guys like Jalen Hyatt, those guys need to go off to the league and have success because then Josh Heupel can use that on the recruiting trail. Even like I was even talking about Peyton Manning this week. I'm like, do some of these kids, sure they know who Peyton Manning is, but do they know who he is because of the Manning cast, or do they know who he is because of his career at Tennessee, right? Yeah. And there's Tennessee guys who is a great Tennessee player and who is a great NFL player. There's a difference there too, but yeah, we care way more about the history than these kids do. They care about the here and the now and themselves, right? They're trying to make the best decision for themselves and their family. What do you think about Dion? Not to get sidetracked on Gator Hater Week. I've already been accused of being a Colorado fan.
This is Locked On Vols, Boogie.
Hey,
all
I'm
right.
gonna trade this App State hat in for a Colorado hat. Let's go. We coming.
I think I would not enjoy covering that program. Seriously, I bet a lot of people on the outside are like, "Oh man, it'd be so great to be around that program."
Not
so
a media
excited.
guy.
Like, no, to be on the beat for that. No, if I was sitting in that press conference after a win like that, and Dion's like, looking at me and saying, "Do you believe now? Do you believe now?" It's like, it's not my freaking job to believe in what you're doing. Like,
it's your job to talk about it. That's it.
Yeah, people on the broadcast. It was a national radio. I was on my way home from Virginia when that happened, and the guy on the panel was like, "Oh, he's not talking to the reporter. He's talking to his team through the reporter." As a reporter, I don't give a shit. Don't talk to me like that. Anyway, sorry. Anyway,
sorry. I brought out the best on this Friday edition of Locked On Vols.
We're getting off the rails here. I think he has done everything he said he was going to do. It's been fun to watch. I mean, I'm not like rooting for him to fail. I love him as a player, and He's a great personality, and he's showing that he's a good coach. Get that staff that he's assembled is good. Hunter, I'm intrigued to see where he is in 5-6 weeks. I don't think you can play at this stage in Power 5 football. You can't go old school and do what Dion did and play, and impact the game on both sides like that. It's just not possible in my opinion. But, his son, Shadir Sanders, goodness gracious, man, he's a good quarterback. So it's been fun. I'm intrigued to see will there be a year's end, but so far, everything he said he was going to do, he's done. So, props to him for sure.
Sidebar there. Let's get back to Tennessee, Florida. It's Gator Hater Week, not Praise Colorado Week.
Jalen Wright, man, I've been so pumped, been so intrigued with him, been so impressed with him. He just looks different out there.
Yeah, it's fun when we talk about it, right? When it's the story, the off year, it's like Jalen Wright. It's time for him to come on, and we kept saying breakout year. Well, a lot of people didn't. It's like he led the team in rushing last year, but this year has been something special. Just looking at his numbers, I mean, I don't care who you played. I don't care if it's Virginia and Austin Peay. You're averaging 9.3 yards per carry. It's been amazing. So much so that we're really not even talking about Jabari Small. He's averaging 6.2. He's running hard. Jabari Small looks good too, and I get it. Everybody loves Dylan Sampson. So do I. But the two-headed monster is Jalen Wright and Jabari Small, and I think it's such a key factor. Again, just to go back and beat it into the ground, Tennessee's got to be able to run the football on Saturday night. I think that's how you make Joe comfortable. Run the football, play good defense, give him some easy throws, and then you're going to take your shot. Florida's going to creep down in the box. They're going to try to make Joe throw it. We need success in that vertical passing game. That little stuff to the outside, it might work against Austin Peay. I don't think it's going to work against teams like Florida in the SEC. You got to be able to stretch the field, and we've seen Josh Heupel do that, right? It's the cool, cute little thing to say, oh, we've been vanilla, we've been basic. We're not going to be that on Saturday night, so we'll see what this offense is made of. I think
the perimeter passing game, the screen. I was going to say the screens and all that. Tennessee's done that, but that can't be your only source of passing game.
Yeah.
It's
huge part of the offense, and I think it's good, man. It's you spread them out wide, and you're giving them more to look at and defend and cover. It's a good part of the offense, but then that's when you set them up and hit them down the field. You got to be able to do that.
Look at Kentucky. Look at the Kentucky game in 2021. It's a perfect example. Something I'm concerned about a little bit, not necessarily for this game, but moving forward. I love the linebacker room. I talked so much about how I loved it. It's at depth. It looks good. One injury can change some things, and now you have underclassmen, a sophomore who's starting now in Elijah Herring, true freshman Arian Carter, who are going to be forced to play legit snaps and play a lot. Now, they were going to be in the rotation. They were going to help out a little bit, but now they got to shoulder the load. Any worry, first road game, SEC play, Elijah Herring, it's time to step up. Arian Carter, you made the comment earlier this week, and when I went back and watched it again, I couldn't agree more. Not his best game against Austin Peay, second game ever. Not his best game. But essentially, those two guys got to grow up in a hurry. Is that a little concerning for you on defense?
Yeah, there's a difference between getting some run and being the guy, right? Yeah. And that's what we're seeing. I think Elijah Herring's played good football through 2 games, but again, the competition steps up a little bit this week against Florida. But it is a concern because Brian Jean-Marie, they want to rotate probably 4 guys really. But we said it week 1. And this defense looks the best when Keenan Peely was out there beside Aaron Beasley. Aaron Beasley just absolutely balling out. I mean, he is playing such good football. And when Keenan Peely was out there, man, I thought the defense looked really, really good. Again, Virginia, right? Virginia. But, yeah, I am concerned because Elijah Herring now, instead of coming in every few series, or if he struggles, right? And then Brian Jean-Marie's like, all right, let's get Beasley out there, get Peely out there, and let's settle in and let's play some defense. Yeah. You don't have that option anymore. It's Arian Carter, it's Elijah Herring. So, yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm concerned because I like the veteran leadership that you had out there as your starters. But we'll see. We'll see. I like Elijah Herring.
I do too. I think a guy that was pretty much just kind of a throw-in at the time in March or April whenever he committed. He was Tennessee's first commit for Josh Heupel. And the thought was always like, oh, well, we want his brother. We want his brother. We want his brother. And then over the summer, they got him in there back when you could do this and get him a private workout. And they're like, oh, man, we really like this guy. And then as a freshman, got a little bit of run. It's like, okay, this guy's a player. And now he's a starter. I like him as well. Last thing, get back to Tennessee, Florida. We debated this on the Rocky Top Roundtable on Wednesday earlier this week at VolQuest.com. And I think it's a really good question. What's more important this week, the mid-8 or the first 8?
First 8.
I agree. You always want to win the mid-8. And Tennessee's been suspect on offense first 2 games, but they've won the mid-8, the middle 8. They've looked really, really good. This week you want to win that, but I think it's so critical to win the first 8, get out there, put the pressure on Florida, and get some confidence going offensively.
Their fan base is in this unique spot, right? Because, again, they lost the last 3 games last year. They lose to Utah. If they lose to Tennessee on Saturday night, a lot of these fans are going to pack it in. They're going to be done with Billy Napier. On the flip side, they're foaming at the mouth. They want revenge for the game last year. They want some glimmer of hope. I've been comparing it to like the Butch Jones years, the Derek Dooley years, where the wheels, forget falling off, the wheels are 8 miles down the track. They fell off a long time ago, and I'm sitting here going, well, I mean, he needs just give him 7 more years, and I promise Butch Jones is going to be the guy. That's where they're at. You give them a little glimmer of hope in that first 8 minutes of that ball game, the swamp is going to erupt. It's going to feel like it's the freaking mid-2000s, and Tennessee has no shot. We as fans, Joe Milton goes out and throws a pick, or we fumble the opening kickoff. Something stupid. You come out, a holding call, and it's 1st and 20 right out of the gate. Well, this ball game's over. It's over, and you're 30 seconds into the game, and you've given up. The first, I'm not even going to say first 8 minutes, the first 5 minutes, the first 4 minutes, the first 2 possessions. We kind of joked about it last night. Whatever day this is being recorded and going up, we talked about it. We were kind of saying picture perfect scenario. Florida receives, Tennessee gets a 3 and out. D. Williams house call. They're leaving. 7-0, and they're leaving the stadium. The start of this game is more important than anything. Did they disagree with you on that?
No, it was fun. Like, Austin asked the question, and I think Brent and Rob both said the mid-8, which, again, you want to win that, and Tennessee's been good at that.
Yep.
Austin said the first 8, and I think I agreed, or I said the first 8 and he agreed. Whatever. I think it was kind of 2-2. Like, both are super important, but I think first road game, hostile environment, especially the way you played offensively last week, I just think it's so important. Like, the Virginia game, you received the opening kickoff, you marched down the field, you scored. Or did they receive the opening kickoff? I can't remember. You scored on your first offensive possession, but then it was crickets for like 4 or 5 series. Yep. And so it was really not a very good first half. Then you scored twice right before the half. That's that mid-8. So, again, I just think that you got to take the crowd out. You got to have some confidence early. And so that's why I say the first 8.
They did it. They did it against Austin Peay too, right? It was 6-6, and they go down and score right before the half. They come out and receive and they go down and score again, and the game was over. Which I don't think a lot of us were really thinking, are we really going to lose this game? But no. The mid-8, and Heupel's been so good at it throughout his time at Tennessee. I think a lot of that's his offense, right? You know, another team scores, they leave you a minute and a half. Josh Heupel's offense can go score, and that
happened
sets
to
you
Florida.
up.
Happened against Florida last year. The Ramel Keaton catch,
Huge.
The 3rd and 10. That was my favorite play of the game. 3rd and 10 at your own 14, and Hooker gets blitzed up the middle, and he evades pressure and hits Fant right at the markers. Then you got Ramel Keaton down the field, and then a couple of plays later, you got the 1-yard drag. You hit Brew McCoy. 7 seconds on the clock. Tennessee scores then. Tennessee scores out of the break. Off to the races.
And that seems like when you look back at that season, when you look at how special that year was, how fun it was to cover, that seemed kind of like the launching point. That drive right before the half against Florida, that's why tomorrow night in the Swamp, most crucial game of this season for me.
Boogie, it's been fun, man. It's been fun breaking down and previewing this matchup all week long. It's Friday, so tell us kind of your weekly rundown. Do you do anything tonight? I know you'll probably have a pregame tailgate show, all that on the Talkin VAWLS Network leading up to Florida, right? And postgame show as well.
Yeah, we could have a big one. A special a Florida fan out there in the public eye that loves him some Tennessee for some reason. We're having conversations with him. He's going to try to jump on the tailgate show and have some fun with us. If not, it'll be the same old song and dance. You guys get an opportunity to come on the show. That's what we do on those tailgate shows. Then we'll be live immediately after the game within a matter of minutes. So whether you're full of piss and vinegar and need somebody to vent with, or you want to celebrate with your boys, come hang out. Talkin VAWLS Network on YouTube. It's going to be a good time.
Boogie Bentley, he is the voice of the common Tennessee fan at Boogie Bentley on Twitter. Appreciate it as always, brother.
Thanks, man.